Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Upkick MMA episode 388. I am Brendan. UFC 300. Pereira taking on Jamahal Hill. Okay, we're going to cover that fight. We're going to cover all of the fights in the main card here. Prelims in the next video. We're going to break them all down round by round. If you like this kind of thing, subscribe to the channel. That way the next video is coming out. Intro out of the way. Let's get into the fights because we got a lot to talk about. Not so much in this fight. It did not last too long. So Pereira was going, throwing hard. He was throwing low kicks. He was missing them, though. He wasn't landing them that much. Hill countered with a body kick and a lead hook over the top, landing a low kick of his own. But then Pereira just lands a left hook, and Hill goes down, and that's the end of it. There wasn't much to talk about after that. There wasn't a lot of technical stuff. There was, yes, like a nut kick to Pereira, but he waves it off and then instantly goes in for it. So there wasn't even a pause in the action for that. So what does this mean for light heavyweights? I don't know. If Pereira wants to go up and fight at heavyweight, I don't know. What are we going to do here? My opinion, we'll talk about it in the prelims, but Yuri Prochazka makes the most sense. Okay, obviously it's a controversial loss to Pereira. It was that some other people were just waving it off as whatever, but it didn't end definitively, right? There's at least a little bit of controversy there. The fight was semi-competitive with Pereira getting challenged in there. So let's see what happens again. And he's coming off of a big win over a contender. So unless you're going to throw Ankalaev in there, he's been sitting out for a while. Blachowicz, we already saw how that went, and split decision win to get the belt. So they're probably not going to throw Blachowicz back in there. And then Rakic just lost and Krylov lost. So they're not in. Johnny Walker lost. They're just not in contention anymore. They're unlikely to be thrown in there for the title. I think Ankalaev makes a lot of sense. But Prochazka fighting on the exact same card, having the exact same timeline, also makes a lot of sense, unless you want to make Prochazka and Ankalaev fight. But Pereira's fought 3 times at light heavyweight. He hasn't cleaned out the division. He hasn't beaten a bunch of contenders at light heavyweight. This whole thing, we're if he wants to go on and fight, then he's got to relinquish the belt and move on. And then we need to stop this thing. And this whole thing where you're allowed to go fight for a title and then just vacate and move on, that's fine. But it needs to be decided really quick. None of this sitting around, maybe we'll see. No, it needs to be decided almost immediately so the division can move on. Moving on, Zhang Weili versus Xiaonan, fighting for the belt at strawweight. Good fight for the most part when it was on the feet, when it was on the ground. There were some interesting moments early on, but then it became a stinker as the fight went on. Yan was landing the nice right hand and Zhang going with the hard low kicks. Yan gets the first takedown. Interesting that she just lets her back up. She could have held her down there. It looked like she was plenty strong enough. Left hook countered from Yan, drops Zhang for a second. Zhang able to press forward, landing a decent right hand and getting the throw, getting the back and going for the rear naked choke. Yan survives the last 15 seconds. Stuck in the rear naked choke, which was crazy. It was right at the end of the round. And then when the round ends, Zhang holds on for an extra second or two, and then Yan has to stand up, right? Well, she staggers to her feet, and then they're making a big deal. She's out. She's out. The rules don't say if you were out, therefore the fight's over. It's if you can return to your feet, and the fight continues. And that's what she did. She got to her feet, but that thing once it got to the ground, it was clearly where Zhang wanted to be. And that's what we saw later on in the fight, too. So she gets it to the ground. Controls was down there for what? It was only a minute in the first round, but with that submission attempt. In the second round, it happens much earlier, right? Yan overextends on her right hand, gets caught in exchange, gets taken down, spends virtually the entire round defending takedowns and submissions down there. 3 minutes and 51 seconds of control time for Weili. Not the most exciting round. Right, not a lot of back and forth. So she's up 20-18. You could have given her a 10-8 in that round. Would make sense if you want to go that way. Next round, Yan lands a side kick, shoves Zhang to the ground. Yan landing a nice right hand, and Zhang is swinging wild, looking kind of tired. Yan kicks the legs out and kicks her on the ground. for a little bit. I don't like that one up, one down thing, but it worked for her. And Jan was able to stay on her feet for most of this round. 26-12 for the striking numbers. Finally, something like we could actually look at striking numbers for a factor here. Very little ground time. Fun round. Again, not the most fun round, but fun enough. More fun than the next two rounds, that's for sure. So I had a 29-28 for Zhang going into the fourth round. Then Jan counters a low kick with a hard right hand, drops Zhang. It looks like we're going to have another exciting round, but then Zhang gets the takedown against the cage, gets on top, and then stays there for the rest of the round, having 3 minutes and 42 seconds of control time. Jan needs a finish at this point in this last round, but Zhang goes for the takedown, gets back up at 3:45 left, and then gets her back down again. Holds her down for the rest of the round. Kind of a stinker way to end. And with the last fight not being competitive either, ending so fast, kind of a stinker of a night to end UFC 300. It's not their fight, not the fighter's fault, right? They're not, I know it is entertainment and stuff, but a win's a win. Zhang looks good. I think, Tatiana Suarez probably deserves the title shot next here. Amanda Lemos, maybe Jessica Andrade could have, but no. She's fighting at flyweight now. Is she still ranked at bantamweight? That'd be really funny if she was. She's not. Okay. They don't even have the featherweight championship ranked in here, the women's featherweight. Good. It should have gone away a long time ago. Mackenzie Dern somehow moved up last week. Yeah, John Jidoba could. She could fight for a title, but I feel like she needs another win. Yeah, Tatiana Suarez, once she gets healthy, it's just such a shame. She's such a huge talent, not able to put it together just because of injuries. And that's part of the game, right? This is not an excuse saying only if. No ifs. You're either in or you're not. Injuries are part of the game. If your body can't stay healthy, you can't compete. If you can't compete, can't show us that you're the best in the world. So if you have one performance that shows you're the best in the world and then never compete again, are you the best? No, because you can only do it once. She's obviously done it more than once as an extreme example, but looking at the scorecards here, all three judges had it the exact same way. The only round they gave to Jan was that third round. Makes sense. Good call all around for everybody. Let's see here. Okay, let's go to the BMF belt. We're actually moving through this pretty quick. Justin Gaethje taking on Max Holloway for the BMF belt. I've said my piece on this belt before. I think it's stupid, but you want to throw 5-rounders in there, I'm okay with that. It just doesn't need to be for some stupid belt. Outside of attacking orifices of Gaethje, Holloway just seemed to have a really good game plan here, right? There's some, I wouldn't call it controversy. It's just some unfortunate circumstances, and as well as a good strike that led to a real change of the tone of the fight, and even swing it more in Max Holloway's favor. We'll talk about that as this goes on. A crazy finish as well. I don't think that elevates this fight that much more. Obviously, I'm glad he got the bonus for it, but I don't think it elevated it more. I thought it was a perfect performance, a virtually perfect performance. It just shows how good Holloway is. So Holloway is staying on the outside early, getting out of range of Gaethje's hooks. They're trading low kicks for a lot for a Holloway fight. Normally, Holloway doesn't throw too many low kicks. He does throw them, but not as hard. He doesn't really sit down on him. Holloway is landing the uppercut and then an uppercut left hook. Just not enough kicks for Gaethje. Gaethje landed how many low kicks in this first round? 6. He actually landed less than Holloway. And I think he landed 6, then 9, then 6, 6, 6. So I really feel like Gaethje's best strikes were those low kicks. And yes, Holloway was eating them and it didn't appear to affect him, but it clearly does do something. So I feel like he could have gone to the well. I said this before. I use that phrase a lot, but I feel like he could have gone to the well a lot more with that, and it would have helped him out later in the rounds, possibly allowing him to get better. But we'll see what happens. So at the end of this round, they're engaged when the range that they're engaging at, Holloway is just able to reach him and do the damage, and he's able to exit so well. The command of the boxing space is so good, and it was really giving Gaethje problems. And then right at the end of the round, Holloway throws a spinning back kick to the body, and Gaethje ducks down to go to avoid it. I thinking maybe it's going to be a head kick or a spinning whatever, and the heel just drags right across the nose and breaks his nose right at the end of the first round. So, and he says in between rounds, like, I can't breathe out of my nose. So remember that for the rest of this fight, he can't breathe out of his nose, which is just horrible. So his cardio is going to be diminished. The ability to sustain punishment to the face is going to be diminished. And then on top of that, he's waiting a lot in the second round. He gets poked bad in the eye. Holloway's more active, landing more. Gaethje just can't get the things going. And then he gets poked in the eye yet again. Obviously, Holloway gets warned about it, but the warning does nothing for anybody other than allow the fight to continue after both guys get a break. So, it doesn't really affect anything. The best thing from Gaethje is those low kicks. He's just not landing them enough, and Holloway starts pulling away. 30-18 for striking numbers here. That's the first round was 25-12. So he just outstruck him in most of these rounds. Third round, Holloway finding the right hand and another one. Gaethje is just getting hurt, and that nose really must be bothering him. Gaethje is still only landing those low kicks, and Holloway staying tight and disciplined, winning another round. 29-20 for the striking numbers in this round. Really close. Each round looked very similar. Gaethje just not able to get going, not able to stay in the pocket long enough in exchange with him. In the third round here, it was the closest round. Fourth round was the closest round. Holloway using that front kick to the body, keep range, going with a loopy right hand to the body as well. Again, using those longer tools. Holloway is stinging him with the jab and those right hands to the nose. Gaethje is just not landing the hooks. They aren't staying in tight long enough. Holloway's getting out of range. And then right hand from Gaethje drops Holloway for a second, but they get right back in it. Despite the drop, I think Holloway could have still won this fourth round. He hurt him a couple times early in the round. I have it 40-26. If you look at the striking numbers here, they're dead even. And if you think Gaethje did more damage, I understand. This is coming from a huge Gaethje. I love Justin Gaethje, so it's like I'm not against him in this at all. So don't think it like, I actually really like both these guys. I thought it was kind of stupid that they're fighting. Like, I'm a fan of watching them both fight, and I just hate that one of them had to lose. So that sucks. And then so if you gave him this round, but I had him up 40-36. Last round here, Holloway in retreat, able to exit to the sides, landing huge right hands, hurting Gaethje. The right hands from Holloway are just landing at will. He lands another one right before the end of the round, so he points it down to the ground, just like he did against Ricardo Lamas, where they swung at each other for the last 10 seconds. He does it here, knocks him out, gets a great finish. I mean, outstruck him here anyway, 62-18. He was starting to pull away. For all those people, like, I'm not a part of the MMA Twitter sphere. I know that some people, they kept saying like, oh, people are counting Holloway out. I don't think legitimate people were counting Holloway out. I think there were ways that Holloway was going to win this, and there were ways that Gaethje could win this. And how it shook out, it just, so many things added up in Holloway's favor. Obviously, that nose break at the end of that first round, catching Gaethje there, and then throughout the rest of the fight, obviously the eye pokes, like, I don't think they affected the fight that much. Obviously that round could have been changed. We could have had a point deduction there, which would have essentially made it, given Holloway a chance. Maybe it would have changed the way, or given Gaethje a chance. Maybe it would change the way Holloway was fighting. But overall, I don't think it affected the fight so much. I think the biggest thing was that nose break. And then not allowing Gaethje to really engage with him. And Holloway just put together like I said at the beginning of this, almost a perfect performance. He's a big dude. And then at the end of it, he calls out Ilia Topuria, who the camera switches over to him, and to Ilia, and Ilia just standing there like a deer in the headlights. I don't know if he doesn't know the camera's on him, and then eventually goes like, maybe he doesn't understand English too. I know he's from Spain, so maybe he only speaks Spanish. He doesn't understand English. But when he calls out Ilia Topuria, saying like he's dodging me, and it's true. Ilia Topuria has exactly one title win, no title defenses, and at bare minimum should be fighting Volkanovski, right? That's another thing that kind of happened with this card. I feel like a lot of the guys, there were wins and losses and stuff, but did it really affect the outcome of any of the divisions in a tremendous way? I don't think so. Obviously, at light heavyweight, we had, Pereira beating Jamahal Hill. Jamahal Hill, is he going to drop down? Like, he wasn't involved for a couple years anyway, so it's not like he was taking out all the contenders, so he's going to have to go fight them. Pereira's still champion. Yuri Prochazka gets a win, so maintains his position, maybe moves up to 1, and then he's the next logical contender. So it's like that mess, but they fought already. They're probably not excited to do that one. And then Rakic, like he had a chance to move himself in there, create an interesting story, didn't happen. At lightweight, Justin Gaethje loses to a guy outside the division. Does that hurt his rankings? Probably, but does it really hurt his standing in the division so much? Not really. Arman Tsarukyan getting the win, that can give him the shot. That might be it right there, beating Charles Oliveira. So that's the big one. We'll talk about that in a second. But I think it's important here to talk about featherweight. Max Holloway calling out Ilia Topuria. I think it's a logical thing. He also called out Islam. He's like, hey, I hear he likes beating up 145ers, so let's go, let's do it. I'd be down for that. I think that would be an amazing fight. I think Islam wants no part of that. I don't think anybody wants to fight Max Holloway because it's a lose-lose. Look what happened with Gaethje. Gaethje did it because he loves fighting and whatever else, and I'm sure they paid him well. I'm not going to say he's like some hero going on out of his shield or something, but Max Holloway is not a fun matchup for a lot of people. He stays on his feet. He's decent at anti wrestling. He punishes people. He's a big dude for featherweight, so he's not going to be an undersized lightweight. And yeah, Islam Makhachev probably cuts a shitload of weight, being a weight bully trying to make it down there. But how much he wants to go up and fight at welterweight, and welterweight wants to go up and fight middleweight, and middleweight wants to go up and fight. Like, nobody wants to fucking fight the people in their division. Topuria wants to go up and fight them. Too bad. We got to stop this shit. The division either needs to move on from these champions or the champions need to defend their belts. No more like champion on champion stuff. Volkanovski cleared out his division, minus like 2 people. He beat everybody. And then that was in like proper contender. Like he was telling people like, hey, get some fucking wins so we can get a new title contender in here. Then he was like, okay, like I'll go up and take on Islam. Like that's understandable. Max Holloway beat everybody not named Volkanovski. Right? When's the last time Max Holloway lost to someone not named Volkanovski? Dustin Poirier back in 2019. So he hasn't lost to anybody. He hasn't lost to a 145-pounder outside of title fights since Conor McGregor back in 2013. He's only lost when fighting for the title, like in his own division. His only loss in the division is fighting for a title against Alexander Volkanovski. 1 was defense of his title. The 2 is obviously him trying to get the title back. But other than that, he hasn't lost to anybody in his division since Conor McGregor fought at 145 back in 2013. That's an eternity. Okay, so you want to talk about somebody who's got the right to call out other divisions? Sure, I think, but he did it. He said it first. He's like, "Hey, I should be fighting for the title." And I think if Volkanovski doesn't go for the immediate rematch for whatever reason, scheduling, health, whatever it might be, Holloway is the correct answer in here, and Topuria should have almost no say in this, right? Like, if Topuria was on a roll where he took out the entire division and everyone not named Max Holloway, he might have an argument here, but even then he wouldn't because he hasn't fought Max Holloway yet. He's got to take on Max Holloway. He hasn't taken on anybody. He hasn't beaten Brian Ortega or Yair Rodriguez. There's a whole bunch of people. Fun matchups for him. Oh, god dang. All right. Finally, a member of the old guard goes down. Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan. Now, this had everything that a Charles Oliveira fight has. Him getting tagged, him going for submissions, and also getting controlled on the ground. It happens. Oliveira is a glass cannon, man. He is a classic glass cannon. He will throw up submissions while getting ground and pounded. He will throw big right hands as he takes a shot and gets dropped. Like he's 100% offense, right? I mean, his defense, like I don't mean that like he has no defense. I just mean like when he can get dominated just like anybody else can, but he can also throw back at you. Like it is hard going against him. They go with the low kicks and Tsarukyan slips and gives him the front headlock. Slipping and gives Oliveira the front headlock. Oliveira dives on the guillotine. Really tight one. Looked like it could have been over, but again, like a lot of these submission guys, if you go 100% on that and you get out of it, you can survive and keep moving forward. And then you realize like, oh, hey, I can beat this guy. Tsarukyan reversed with 240 left. Oliveira landed a kick to the face of Tsarukyan. While Tsarukyan was in the guard, that is an illegal strike. No point deduction. I'm glad he got the position back, but they stopped the fight to like make sure Tsarukyan is fine. That's fair. That's normal procedure after an illegal strike. But no point deduction. I don't care. Like I've never. How often do you see a guy get kneed in the head when they shouldn't be, and there's no point deduction? It doesn't happen very often. And here, I don't care what he was doing. You can't fling. You have to be in control of your tools. You can't fling your feet around. You know damn well what you're doing. It's fucking disgusting. You can't do that shit. Like, if it wasn't a rule, then fine. But it is a rule, and you know better. No point deduction for some reason, but that, and there's no deduction for those illegal strikes. So, the striking numbers were relatively even. The control time, was in favor of Tsarukyan, but I feel like he did less with his control, and he was in that deep submission. I gave this first round to Oliveira. I had him up 10-9. All right, I don't like it. It should have been 9-9, but, it is what it is, 10-9. They both pressure back and forth in the second round. Oliveira looking to land a big right hand down the middle. Tsarukyan getting the body lock takedown after hitting the double. Beautiful stuff. Tsarukyan in control of that whole round, and neither guy landing a lot of damage. Tsarukyan outlanded him 22-5. Neither guy landing big strikes, and he had 3 minutes and 49 seconds of control time. Easy round for him. 19-19. Third round. Tsarukyan is taking the center now, looking to get Oliveira in the clinch, landing shots. Landing shots to the body. I didn't put the D in there, so it's just landing shots to the boy. And I'm like, I don't know what they mean. And using the 1-2. Tsarukyan gets the takedown again, and Oliveira trying the guillotine again, but it's the wrong side, right? So he's setting him up. He could have been Von Flewed there. Tsarukyan gets the back and loses position, and Oliveira tries the darce. Here's the problem I have with the darce. First of all, that's that other sub attempt. I don't know if they're counting that guillotine as a sub attempt. It was not a legitimate attempt. Never was in the correct position to get that guillotine. That darce, he was in the correct position initially for the setup, but it's hard to get a darce when they're belly down. You can't get the finish there unless you have some crazy circumstances. It's unlikely to get the finish there. You really want to tighten them up and squeeze them back into each other. So you actually want to entangle your legs and pull them in to finish the darce. But one of the defenses for the darce is literally going belly down or back down. Like you either go belly up or belly down, and that defends against the darce. So is that still a legitimate attempt? I would say no. It's like being stuck in an arm bar, but you've already stepped over the body. Like, yeah, technically the arm bar is still there, but it's unlikely to get the finish because you're doing the correct defense for it, right? So how much weight did you give to that? That's what Rogan liked to bring that up. He's like, oh, it depends on how much value you give to those submission attempts. I don't think the darce was particularly close, and it was tight. It was a tight position. Just like you can have someone in a tight leg lock, right? Like you're like a straight ankle lock type of deal. You could have someone in there tight, but not applying the right pressure to get the finish. So just because you have a ton of control of that leg doesn't necessarily mean you're closer to the finish, right? And because of that, like if you lock that triangle, you put you lock that you make that triangle with your arms, and you get that position. That darce position, you can lock that in and have a lot of control from there. It doesn't mean you're close to the finish. So that's where I graded it. I didn't think. Plus, he got outstruck in there, 18-5. Tsarukyan had plenty of control in that round and landed a ton of damage. There was nothing from Oliveira in that round that was going to score it for me. Let's look at the scorecards because, of course, there's a little bit of shenanigans. Mike Bell, who I often disagree with him. So I gave it to Tsarukyan. I gave him the second 2 rounds. Mike Bell thought that darce must have thought that darce was super close because every other metric shows that Oliveira lost that round. Okay, that's what it is. This is one of the reasons I disagree with Mike Bell a lot. I think we have a fundamental disagreement about the value of certain things. It doesn't mean he's right or I'm right. I'm not claiming to be right. I'm just saying that's why I often disagree with his scorecards. Just agreeing with Adelaide Bird doesn't make me feel good, but that's how I scored it. And the same with Ron McCarthy. those guys are known for throwing up stinkers, but I don't think they got this one wrong. I think it really came down to how you judge those things, and given different judges, maybe they see it different, but I don't think so. I think they got it right. And Tsarukyan should be fighting for the title. Right? Let's just look at his... Yeah, his only loss is to... Well, he lost to Islam Makhachev forever ago in a decision fight. I remember that one. It was very wrestling heavy. Not a whole lot of striking. Was it close? No, I think Islam just had the control time. That's what it was. Okay. And then he rattled off 5 straight wins against good fighters, right? And then loses to Mateusz Gamrot, who's on his own tear right now, 3 wins in a row. Again, only has 2 losses in the division in the UFC. Both guys are really good. And then he beats, Ismagulov, Joaquim Silva, Beneil Dariush, and Charles Oliveira. He's, angling for a title shot, in my opinion, because you look at the rankings here at lightweight. Tsarukyan makes the most sense, but here's the thing. I think they just scheduled Dustin Poirier versus Makhachev. Fine. I think the name recognition makes sense, but I'm hoping that Tsarukyan doesn't have to fight Gamrot beforehand, because I don't want these brand new contenders taking each other out. Let's get Poirier in there. Let's see what happens, and then let's shake things out. I'm okay if Justin Gaethje never gets a title shot. I'm okay if Oliveira doesn't get another one. We've already seen how this goes. We don't need to see that stuff. Poirier, I know, yes, it's already scheduled, so we can't say anything about it. Tsarukyan, I think, deserves the next one. Maybe Gamrot. But yeah, it's some fresh stuff. Let's not have them take each other out. All right, they've made it through the gauntlet. They're on win streaks. We've got a fun storyline, new matchups. Let's let them sit, put them on the shelf if they can afford it, and then they can fight for the title. All right, Cody Brundage versus Bo Nickal. This one was fun. Decent amount of some decent grappling in this. Not the most exciting, I guess you'd say, but it's, for me, like, to watch like a high level wrestler use his wrestling like this. It's fun when I know that's what I'm getting into. Brundage out there throwing flying knees, swinging huge. Brundage looks to land with a big hook, but they wrestle a bit, and Nickal finds his way to the clinch against the cage and gets a takedown, get in the back, and that was the whole round. Had 4 minutes and 25 seconds of control time. Just dominating him on the ground. Second round, Brundage lands a kick as Nickal moves in for the takedown, then throws Nickal off, but the pressure in the wrestling from Nickal is just overwhelming. He gets on top, gets the mount, and gets to the back, and gets a rear naked choke and gets the finish. He says he was embarrassed by his performance. He said he's had 6 fights. He's 6-0. By his 12th fight, he'd like to be fighting for a title and get that belt. So I think that's logical, makes sense to me. There are people up in arms that think he didn't deserve to be on the main card. Whatever. I'm not too upset about that kind of stuff. I mean, they put that kid on the card. I don't know if it was for UFC Mexico, but they put him on the main card, and he's got he had 1 or 2 fights against nobody. So let's cool it on this spot to open the card. All right, that is it. I will be putting the prelims in the next video. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. Love you guys. Have an amazing week. Let me know what you guys thought about the fights.